Welcome to Legacy Cast, your source for hearing from top influencers, industry experts, and successful business owners who are telling their unique story about life, values, goals, business strategies, and the various causes they are so passionate about. Future generations will come to be impacted by what is happening today, whether positive or negative, and our mission is to focus on what is going to affect change for the better. Hosted each weekday by James Snow, a former U.S. Army combat medic, now founder and principal advisor of James Advisors Group, a full-service financial planning firm in North Texas. This is Legacy Cast. Hello, Legacy Cast listeners. This is your host for the program, James Snow, where we talk to people all across the world, actually, and we talk to them about what they're doing that's going to make a difference in society and other people's lives. A lot of people think about legacies as being just a money thing, but obviously it's a lot more than that. It's about you telling your story your way so that the world knows that you lived, what mattered to you, and the things that you did to make a difference in society with other people, so that the next generation will find it better than we found it, and they'll know that you made a difference. So I have with me today a fellow veteran entrepreneur here, Jessica Moody, and she was a Marine Corps veteran. So I love having Marine Corps veterans on the program. They tend to be a little bit more entertaining than some of the other branches. So welcome to the program, Jessica.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So like the name of the program would imply, we talk about legacies, but again, just kind of reiterate, for a lot of people, it's not just a money conversation. It's the way I look at it is it's you telling the story of your life, and it's you telling your story your way, so that your children, your grandchildren, and the many generations to follow will know that you first of all, most importantly, that you were here, but the things that you're passionate about and that you cared about, and that the things that you affected change in on a positive level. But what does legacy mean to you when you hear about that?
I think you're right. Having a legacy really means to leave something for my children, make an impact for people, and to really help people have a platform that they need to succeed. Mm-hmm. So what I do a lot of times is I assist other entrepreneurs in achieving their dreams.
Yeah, and it's a very powerful statement that you have there, because that's part of what you do in your business is in fact helping other entrepreneurs and enabling them to in turn educate other people, which is a very interesting model. I think, because a lot of us, we have that service that we provide, or we have a product that we're providing, but you in fact are providing a service that allows other people to provide a service.
Exactly.
Which is kind of interesting. Is that something that you spend a lot of time really considering how that is going to impact a legacy for you?
Yes, I think that there's some people who want to be in the spotlight, and there's other people who kind of want to be in the background, the more introverted type of people, which is who I am. I'm a little bit introverted, but if you get me in front of a microphone, you would never, ever know that I was an introvert. I think that my experience as an educator has really opened me up. Also, I'm going to really surprise you here. Whenever I was in high school, I was probably the shyest student in my school. I wouldn't talk to anyone. I was very insecure. I didn't know how to speak. And going through the Marine Corps really opened me up. And I guess, in a sense, it strengthened my voice, where I was more confident in who I was. I knew that people should listen to what I have to say, because what I have to say is important. And so a lot of times whenever I go through writing curriculum for online courses for entrepreneurs, I almost give them the ability to do those things effectively that maybe don't come as naturally from for them. It's the thing is that I say naturally, and I don't really mean it doesn't come naturally to me. It was through a lot of hard work in order to learn how to speak and build that confidence. So I want to be able to do that for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, and I can completely relate with you because by my nature, I'm very shy, and doing podcasts or doing radio programs, being in front of people, doing video lives, that in fact is almost like a therapy for me to where I'm forcing myself out of my comfort zone, because left to my own devices, I could almost become a hermit in some ways, because I really don't like being the center of attention in a lot of the regard. So doing some of these things, though it's necessary, it's not my natural self. So I can completely relate with what you're saying, that that it's something that you kind of have to do, and you've had to learn how to do. Because for myself, it was the same thing. My mother, when I was growing up, would tell me those things, that you have to sort of get used to putting yourself out there and force yourself to put yourself out there, because otherwise people don't hear your voice.
Exactly. And that's actually really interesting that you said that, because my dad is a retired sergeant major in the Marine Corps. He's a Vietnam vet.
Oh, wow.
One of the things that he always told me growing up is there's no stupid question. Ask your question. And I have to admit that one of my best skills right now is to ask questions that elicit a response. So there's sometimes, us entrepreneurs will ask a question and we'll think that people know how to respond. And that's the thing, is that people don't always know. And so because of that, because of my, I guess, skills and being able to learn how to ask those questions, I'm able to draw people out of, in a sense, themselves, and like actually respond with their the entrepreneur, and build that relationship, build that connection with each other, which in a sense is orchestrated by me.
And there's I've found over the years, through education and training and what have you, that there's a lot of psychology of communication. And it's something that I really didn't realize at the time that was very interesting to me. The whole psychology of communication, and it's something that I've dug really deep into, and it helps me to kind of understand and as you say, sort of control the conversation, because in our business in an entrepreneur world, and then also my day job in financial planning, that people don't want to talk about very personal things most of the time. And so you do have to be able to guide that conversation and get people to where they are opening up and feel like they're doing it on their own. So it's something that I've found very interesting. And
yes, and I always see these famous speakers, and many of us look at them and go, wow, look at what they've done. Look at how they control the room and get the reactions from people. And I say, no, well, that is a skill. That is an actual tactic that they're using in order to bring that connection about and make people feel that way. And so that right there is one of those delivery pieces. That is, how is the entrepreneur delivering the item or the service that they said they were going to deliver, and how do you bring that about, and how do you bring out about that connection to make them lifelong clients? So those are the things that I really talk about and really try to bring out in people.
So when you're thinking about perhaps just going to the legacy topic for a moment, when you're thinking about that, do you believe that it's important that others spend a lot of energy and time considering what their legacy is going to be?
Yes, I think that there are a lot of people who have an idea of what they want to do, and it may, and sometimes we have to go through this process of deciding if that is the way to go. So like people have it, whenever they're deciding to create a course or become an entrepreneur, most of the time they have a million ideas and they're really not sure what to focus on. Sure. And really, I always go for the two main points, is that to really build who you are by providing a service that comes in a sense naturally to you, is right in your back pocket. You can talk about it. You always talk about it. You always get excited about it. It almost, and sometimes people don't recognize that about themselves, is that it will surprise them whenever they are starting to talk about something that they didn't know was a passion. The other piece of the really trying to build who they are and what they're here for is really, do you have an audience that wants this? And more times than not, yes, you do have an audience. There's always people who are interested in someone who's an expert. And so it's the process of finding who that person is, because obviously we can't build a legacy unless we have, we're doing two things. We are being who we were created to be, and then we're also connecting to people in what they need and want.
Sure. And I like how you put that, being who we need to be. And I really do appreciate that. How do you think that you correlate that kind of thinking, building your legacy into your business? How do you correlate that?
Well, I don't think that I've ever been 100% who I was meant to be until I started writing curriculum for entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. It really encompasses everything I am. I am creative. I'm thoughtful. I think about a bunch of things. I try to think about who the entrepreneur is. Sorry, my 4-year-old. Okay, Elise, baby. No. I might need to pause for a second. Can you pause? I don't know if you can.
Yeah, I can do that.
Sorry. Okay. I don't know if it's gonna. If you can edit that.
Yeah, I can edit that. No worries.
Okay. Sorry. Can you ask the question again?
Yeah, let me just make a note here real quick. So as far as looking at legacy, how would you say that you correlate that into what you do as a business?
Well, I don't think that there's anything. Now I'm off. I'm sorry. I need to get back on track. I'm a little bit. Okay. Okay, so, well, I've never done anything in my life that I believe encompasses everything that I am. Mm-hmm. I am a curriculum developer, which in this sense, it looks like writing content for entrepreneurs to create online courses. Well, all the skills that I need to have in order to do that are being creative, thinking about the whole picture as well as the small little pieces. I have to think about not only the person speaking, but who they're talking to. How are they going to connect to them, and how are they going to bring about a change that they want, which the change as a result makes them into kind of that lifelong client that they want. And also it makes them as the entrepreneur as the expert. And so all of those pieces, being able to write and create activities and create that connection, all of those things are exactly who I am. And because I'm doing exactly what I was meant to do, I feel like that creates a legacy in itself.
Oh, yeah, and I like how you're saying all of that. So if you're looking at maybe your business and its future, for a moment from the CEO standpoint, if you will, what would you say maybe 2 or 3 things are that maybe keep you up at night or that concern you about your business, from a day-to-day standpoint?
Well, I think that one of the issues that I have is that people who are entrepreneurs want to create a course, but they don't really know how to do it. And so I want to be that person that helps them accomplish those goals. So that's one of the problems, is that people don't know someone like me exists, so that I can help them accomplish their dreams. I think that there's other issues with the online education environment, which is that people are putting out courses and they're crappy. And so because I think about the audience, I think about how are we going to actually build that connection? How are we going to not waste the audience's money? Like, I really think about those things. I really think, gosh, like, you're wasting their time and their money by having an amazing marketing strategy, and then them sitting down for your course and going, that really didn't deliver. And so that really concerns me, that people are people are saying, oh, create a course in 7 days. And you're like, no, it takes a little bit more thought than that. Mm-hmm. So I really am concerned about the education side of it, actually giving them what they're paying for. And so those are really the things that I want to make sure people know about who I am. And if you're wanting to create a course or establish yourself as the educator in your field, mm-hmm. then we can do a good job with that.
Yeah, and it's very important what you were mentioning, because there are so many people, that kind of ties into the people that are really giving advice that shouldn't be giving advice. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of people that are putting out courses that probably shouldn't be putting them out if they're not working with someone such as yourself that can put together something really of quality content that is going to be able to give deliverables that the other person can learn from, because I'm sure that there's a subtlety involved in that, to where if you just do a little bit better job, people are going to learn better.
Exactly. And I heard a statistic the other day that about 80% of people who purchase online courses don't finish. And I really, really do believe it's because the marketing strategy was there, but the deliverables weren't. They may not have experience teaching. They may do what the webinars say and create something in 7 days that are just throwing information on there without any thought about their audience. Mm-hmm. And that really creates a disconnect. How many courses have you been in? I know I've been in courses where I'm like, they didn't even think about what I know or I don't know. They're not even teaching me where I am and where they said they're going to take me.
Sure. Yeah. And both of us being veterans, we have that favorite saying of ours, death by PowerPoint. There a lot of courses that I've seen, were just that. It's mm-hmm. just a whole bunch of slides and a whole bunch of stuff, slapped up on the screen, and then someone who really couldn't deliver very well, in the presentation, of that information. And we have a very short attention span. Oftentimes, they say like 7 seconds to get somebody's attention. Mm-hmm. and like 7 minutes to deliver something before they completely lose track. And so, that's something that people should look at. And, working with someone such as yourself, that would, I think, maybe keep them, more on the narrow path that they should be on when they're creating something like this.
Yes. And then again, it establishes, if they're create a good course, good education, then this establishes them as the expert. It creates them as the lifelong go-to person. And then it really connects and builds that community of their audience and their clients. And then their clients will talk about them to other people.
Sure.
And so it creates that trickle effect that really builds your credibility and builds, establishes that expert status that we're all looking for.
Yeah, and that is really the best model for getting clients, through that referral process and having the lifelong relationship, because we shouldn't be just trying to do business one time. We should be wanting to do business 6, 7, 8 times with that same person, because
Exactly.
because it is a lifelong relationship, and there's that relationship of trust that's developed over the course.
Yes.
So with all the things we kind of discussed so far, I'm assuming then you feel like it's probably pretty important that people have some sort of a strategy put together, not only in their business consideration, but also a strategy in their life as far as where they are today and where they want to end up.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Tell me about that.
Basically, as an educator, I use this backwards planning type of strategy. So in the short term and the long term, you're always establishing where you want to end up. So even within your individual short-term goals, you think, okay, well, in 1 month, I want to be able to blank. And so you backwards plan and decide, what are the steps that I need to take in order to get there? How do I establish that? How do I break down those steps to manageable pieces? And that is really the way that I do everything, is that we always talk about, depending on what you want your course to do, changes the way that we present it. If you're wanting to just become the educator, then we create a course in that particular fashion, or we discuss your goals in that way. Like, what is the ultimate result that you want in the short term and the long term? And so that really is how I try to do things too, is that I'm not going to just tell people how to do it, but I do it myself. Is that, where do I want to go, and what are the steps I need to take to get there?
Well, it sounds like you're doing things really very similar to how I do. Obviously we're in completely different business practices and business, industries, but it's taking, that destination and reverse engineering it to where, you look 5 years, 10 years out or whatever, and then you reverse engineer that to where you then define what those steps are to get you to that point.
Yes.
So you're doing the same thing in the course creation.
Yes, exactly. And so we think about, a lot of times I try really, really hard to get entrepreneurs to create tasks, small tasks, so that builds confidence within their audience, that they're like accomplishing something within the individual modules, and then they have an ultimate project at the end. So it's not about just educating, it's about educating in order to do. And whenever people are able to do something or accomplish something, they are able to, feel confident, feel excited, want to show off what they've learned and done. And so again, that creates that cycle effect again, that we've already discussed. And then, so ultimately it's about, what are you not only going to teach them, but what are you going to have them do?
So in the coaching and business world, that's something that we hear a lot of called KPIs, the key process indicators. You're doing the same thing in the course, to where you're creating those stepping stones and those milestones through that, to where you have to get from point to point to point to point, in order to get to that ultimate goal.
Yes, that's exactly.
Oh, excellent. Okay, so Jessica, what do you think some of the most common reasons are that entrepreneurs end up failing or giving up when they're doing their course creation?
Well, I think that a lot of people have too many ideas, and they don't know how to narrow it down in a concise package, I'd say. a lot of entrepreneurs think that whenever they're creating a course, they have to teach everything that they know about the topic. And that's not the case. You know, if you think about it, you have 10, 15 years of experience in your topic, and you're not going to try to get everyone up to your same level within that short time. Is that you're giving them nuggets and tasks to do to start that momentum, and really starting from the beginning. Sure. What are the first steps? What are the accomplishable tasks? And narrowing it down to smaller chunks.
So is this something that you've seen a lot of people really, maybe they're going in directions that they're not as versed on as they should be, and they try to create a course when they really aren't the expert? Have you seen any of that?
You know, I have, and I really, and that's part of who I am as a, you know, veteran Marine. I'm going to tell people the truth. You know, I really am. I'm going to say, you know, is this really the direction you want to go? It sounds like there's a huge challenge that's going to have to take place between starting and finishing it, because maybe there's a different direction we should go that's a little bit more achievable in a short amount of time. Sure. What I always try to lean toward for especially creating your first course is to do something that is easy for you to teach. It's something that you know better than everyone, and people are always going to you for that advice. Not starting on something that's the biggest challenge, or maybe even be the biggest you know, interest for your clients. You know, you really think about achieving that small piece, even for yourself. That instant gratification is a huge momentum builder.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of something that our mutual friend Stephen Kuhn mentions. You know, it's just being very transparent. You know, honest integrity and transparency. His part of his model. You know, his hit strategy, as he calls it. To where, you know, you're very genuine, and you stick to, you know, you doing you, and it sounds like, you know, that's very much what people should be doing, you know, even in the world of, you know, creating educational courses.
Exactly. Just really keeping it in a sense, keeping it simple, telling them the basics, giving them valuable information that they can do something with immediately. But if they need more information, you're always there to help them take the next step.
Sure. Yeah. Good advice. Good advice. So what would you say maybe some specific roadblocks are that for newer entrepreneurs and newer business people, what are some of those roadblocks that people should look out for in creating themselves in this area?
Trying to do everything themselves. You know, if whenever it comes to course creation or any sort of entrepreneur agenda or endeavor, we are always feeling like we have to know everything. But I use this example. Say you were going to open up a clothing store on Main Street. You know, would you learn how to become an electrician in order to add lights? Would you learn how to be a plumber in order to add some toilets? No, you wouldn't do all that stuff. You would pay the expert for that. So why are you going to do that as an online entrepreneur? You don't have to learn how to do web design in order to have a website. You don't have to even know how to write your own curriculum, because there is someone there that knows that and can expedite that process, you know, exponentially. You know, what takes some people 6 months to create takes me a few hours. You know, if I was going to try to create a website, it would take me years to learn how to do something someone could do in just a few days. And so pay people for what you don't want to learn and that you're not good at.
Yeah, and that's golden nuggets right there, because you know, I'm actually guilty of doing that, you know, within my own business a lot of times, because, you know, I've been called a controlling person somewhat, and I'm also a perfectionist, which is not a good combination. So, I try to, do a lot of things under my own steam, and, that has ended up biting me in the rear, a lot of times in my business, where I've had to learn, go ahead and just hand that off, delegate that to somebody else that is versed in that particular area, because not only is it going to save you a lot of time and money, it's going to save you a lot of stress. And, you may not see it at the time, but you will see it later, and it pays dividends.
Exactly. And I can understand how people feel that way. I felt that way for a short time, where I felt like, oh, I need to learn how to make my own website because it's too expensive. But then, after literally crying every day for a month over my website, I said, fine, I'm just going to hand it off to someone. I have a great website developer, and she just blew me away. And then it was relief. And then it didn't feel like I wanted to quit every day. Whenever I was able to release that to the actual expert.
Yeah. And it's sage advice. So, people that are doing that, stop doing it, because you are going to end up taking years off of your life by trying to do everything yourself.
Exactly.
So as far as that kind of leads us to my next question topic here. What are some support and resources that a new entrepreneur should be looking for that's going to help better position themselves for success?
A good website developer, a virtual assistant for the smaller tasks that just need to get done. I heard recently, and I think that this is a common thing amongst entrepreneurs, that if something is worth less than $25 an hour, outsource it. So really, and people change the actual amount, and it really depends on where you are. Right. But if it's not worth your time, then don't spend time on it. The other piece is knowing, so being able to outsource those smaller tasks, being able to learn how to do the basic tasks that you're going to be using over and over again. There are a lot of resources to use, and sometimes the amount of things that you feel like you need to learn is overwhelming. So really taking an inventory of the things that are possible to learn and what are the immediate needs. So really focusing on those immediate needs, and it really depends on the entrepreneur. I really can't give a list other than having a website, having a Facebook group, and having someone to go to for some advice and some kind of direction. But one of the things that I wanted to also add to that whole beginning entrepreneur advice is Brian Smith, the co-founder of Uggs. He said recently, he has a book, and it's the bottom line is that it says, your business is not an adult. It doesn't start out as an adult. You start out as a baby. Your business is a baby. You have to do everything for it. You have to nurture it and watch it grow, and basically put everything, all your time, lose sleep, all your energy into that baby of a business, and you watch it grow through the stages. That all of this stuff about 7 days to launch a course, 7 days to get 6 figures. Yeah, that's true for a very, very small percentage of people. But for the most of us, we have to really nurture it and walk through those steps and those challenges in order to get there.
Yeah, some very good points there. So now we're kind of in a very unique, what I call a unique time in society, where I think a lot of people are starting to put their personal values, their belief systems, even going to the extent of their spiritual beliefs, if you will, into their business. Mm-hmm. And used to that was sort of taboo, that you sort of kept those two things separate. Mm-hmm. How do you personally feel about that, and how do you incorporate those or not?
Well, I think that is great. It's nice to have that freedom to be able to express ourselves and express who we are and what our beliefs are within our platform. So, as you know, I'm a Christian, and ultimately, I have a twofold goal. One of them is to become the background course writer for entrepreneurs. But the other side of that is to write courses for men and women who want to do online Bible studies. And so there's in some ways I feel like they have to be separate, but I'm really working on kind of uniting the same goal within the same platform. And it's not easy to decide how to do that. But I do feel like it's more feasible now, and it reflects more of who I am to be able to establish that belief system within my platform. And you know what? If someone, that's the difficult thing, is that whenever I'm working with an entrepreneur, I'm not trying to add biblical reasoning into that. And same thing on the other side is that if someone's doing a Bible study, then they are two separate things in a sense. It's not like I'm trying to mash them together, but at the same time being fully who I am, which is a Christian. So I want to be able to express that. And I do think that, I'm working on building that connection a little bit better, that platform a little bit better.
Yeah, and I very much appreciate and love what you were saying there, because with my practice, I don't beat around the bush. I tell people up front exactly where I stand, and it's really is a core belief system in my business as well. Mm-hmm. That the things that I believe spiritually are going to drive everything that I do in business, and you can't take one piece out of the puzzle and the puzzle work. So it's like what you see is what you get. This is what you get, and I like the fact that we're at a place, especially nowadays, that people that want to do business with someone like that, it's right there and it's very transparent. And if you don't want to do business, that's okay.
Yes.
It's okay, because there's somebody else that obviously is not going to be on the same page as you are. And maybe that's a better fit for somebody else, because if we try to force that relationship with someone, we're not going to get, we're not going to have a good business relationship, if we try to do that, because at some point it will fall apart. So it's, keeping those things out of business, in my opinion, at least, for what that's worth, my 2 cents is that, you don't want to keep that out of your business, because, eventually it will fall apart, if you do so.
Exactly. And that's another thing about young entrepreneurs, is that to really know that you don't have to help everyone, and you aren't really qualified to help everyone. That there are other people out there that can do what you can't do and support the people you can't. So even though we have a tendency to want to help everyone and do everything for everyone and help this person with that, and I mean, who knows? I've had so many people ask me to write all kinds of things that I don't write, and I've had to learn how to say no. And it's not an easy thing for me, because I want to support everyone and I want to help everyone. But I have to say, you know what? It's not a part of my box of curriculum, online courses, so I can't do it. Sorry.
Yeah, and giving yourself permission to say no is very powerful, and it's very empowering, because no is not a bad thing. It's really not a bad thing. And like you were pointing out, there's only so many hours in the day that we can help somebody. And we have to mature ourselves in business to realize that because there's only so many hours in the day, we have to find the ones that we are most appropriate for.
Exactly.
And work with those people. So what is something that maybe earlier in life you should have done that you didn't do, that you've learned now you should have? What's something?
I think that I kind of mentioned it, speaking up for myself, being confident in who I am and what I was made for. And and being able to say no. Really, those are the key things that I've struggled with. And it's all about growth. It's not like I'm going to tell a 20-year-old to do all these things and expect it to change. It's about the growth and the stepping forward and knowing that, yeah, I need to say this. I need to say no. I need to be confident, but it's not going to happen just because I say I need to do it. It is really a process of learning who you are and becoming more of who you are. It's not going to happen just because you say, suddenly I'm confident. Yeah, that's great. That's great that you say that, but are you really? And what are the steps that we need to take in order to do that? It's not going to happen overnight. It's just that process and that growth. So I feel like now I'm at that point more in my life where I'm like, you know what? This is really who I am. I'm confident in what that is and what that looks like, and I know where I'm going.
Oh, very good. Excellent. So for a few minutes here, we'll kind of focus maybe a little bit more on the personal side of the questioning, a little less business, but business will be in there. What hurdles did you personally face, especially having been a veteran? What hurdles did you face when transitioning out and going into entrepreneurship, and how did you overcome that?
Well, I had quite a few years between when I got out of the Marine Corps and started to become an entrepreneur. I got out of the Marine Corps with the full intent to get my bachelor's in and become a teacher, become an English teacher. So and again, it wasn't like I was on the exact path that I planned on after the Marine Corps. I got out in 2003. I was still I didn't never have the digis. So I was like, I'm super old school. I had like black combat boots, black jungle boots. I kind of was, part of that old school generation, I guess. Now that I say it, I'm like, I feel like super old. People are like, I see all these new Marines and I see their digis and I'm like, oh, that would have been cool if I would have had those, but I didn't. But the idea is that, the path that I knew I was going to get out, I knew I was using every cent of my GI Bill to go to college, to become a teacher. Some of those things changed, but, I'm going to tell you the truth that the ultimate thing that changed and led me on this entrepreneur path is my divorce. I am divorced. I have 2 little girls. And I realized that within the constraints of any 9-to-5 job, I was not going to be able to provide for my girls the way that I wanted to. I want to be self-sufficient. I desire to be, almost self-made. I want to become more than I ever thought that I could. And you know what? Through that process of my divorce and some challenges throughout the last few years, I realized I am capable of so much more than I ever gave myself credit for. I never realized that I could do all the things that I've done. I've overcome so many challenges, and really simply taking care of 2 little girls and knowing, gosh, we've moved 10 times in the past 7 years. Do I really want to live like this? No, I don't. I want them stable and secure and having a good young life and some place to come back to after college, to come visit. It's the same place. And I'm my number one why is to have a place for my girls to always call home.
Yeah.
And that is number one more than anything else. That's the thing that keeps me up at night going, how am I going to do this? And how am I not going to fail so that I can provide that for my girls? Because right now it's hard. And sometimes I'm like, why in the world did I do this? I don't know why I did this. But I think about, well, it's because I couldn't do it in a regular job.
Yeah, very well put. Very well put. It's an amazing story there. So when you were starting your entrepreneurial journey, if you maybe talk me through what that looked like, how'd you get started?
Well, I decided after 5 years of teaching that I was done being in the classroom for those reasons that I mentioned, that I realized I was capable of so much more than I was doing within the classroom setting. Mm-hmm. I realized I was super passionate about writing well-developed curriculum, and I had no idea what that looked like. I didn't know, like, oh, am I going to go get a job as a curriculum developer for a corporation, or am I going to become a program director who's creating curriculum? I have no idea what I'm going to do, but I decided to get my master's in education, and I started this process of going, okay, you know what? This looks like a massive mountain to do this all on my own. What are again, where do I want to go? Backward plan, list all of the education that I need in order to accomplish it. Check the boxes one by one as I'm accomplishing and learning pieces and adding pieces to this massive mountain of information that I need, and just start moving forward. My brother is very supportive. He's actually a sales coach, and he basically said, Jess, do one thing every single day toward your goal. And normally that one thing turns into 5 every day, because once I get that one thing done, I'm motivated to keep checking boxes. And so I just have this running list of constant to-dos, and I start checking the boxes and start moving forward. And it is hard some days, because I'm like, I'm checking boxes, but I don't see any change. But you know what? I have to think about the big picture and think about how far I've come. And do I really want to almost give up and go back to regular 9 to 5? No, I don't. I don't want to do that. I'm going to keep trucking along and keep moving forward throughout all the struggles and the challenges, and I'm going to make it work.
Oh, outstanding. Outstanding. So you were mentioning that you were an English teacher. What compelled you? Was there like a big aha moment that compelled you to decide, you know what, I'm going to be a curriculum designer? Was there like this big light bulb moment?
There wasn't. No. But I look at, well, okay. Yes, there wasn't a moment where I realized I was capable of so much more. Mm-hmm. But now looking back through my whole career as an English teacher, I realized I was writing original, attractive, engaging curriculum the whole time. And, you know, there is a difference between, there are people who are teachers only and they use other people's curriculum. And there's people who are curriculum developers. Mm-hmm. But I happen to be both. I happen to be a teacher and a curriculum developer. But I realized looking back, I'm like, I have been doing this the whole time. Even when I was at home with my daughters, I was writing curriculum. I was reading books. I was writing out how I would teach this to people. Did I ever teach it to people? Not really. But I have books and books and books of all of this curriculum that I could not stop myself from creating. It just came so naturally, in a sense, to me. Once I learned the strategies on how to do it, it just exploded. And as writers, those people who are listening who are writers, you might know that sometimes it takes you a while to admit you're a writer. It's not like you, just because you write a lot, you're like, oh, I'm a writer. You feel insecure about saying that. You know, you go through this process of writing and writing and writing, and then you're like, okay, well, at this point, should I actually admit it to people? Because if I admit it to people, people are going to expect something from me. And that's where I had to make that turning point of going, okay, I'm a writer and I'm a curriculum writer at that, which is even smaller of a percentage of us writers. So I don't really meet very many of us. So that moment of just saying, you know what, I'm going to walk and I'm going to be who I am and just know this is who I am. I'm a curriculum writer, and that's what I do.
Oh, perfect. So other than what you're currently doing, is there maybe some other profession, you know, kind of in the back of your mind that you'd like to try at some point in life?
Well, like I mentioned before a little bit about being the background person, the curriculum writer for Bible studies. I guess my ultimate dream job would be to be a curriculum writer for someone as big as someone like Beth Moore, who is one of the most popular Bible study teachers in the Christian world. If I could become the background person for that, and you know what, I'm going to be really honest, and I always dismiss my teaching abilities because I would rather be in the background, and I would say, you know what, I'm not going to completely rule out possibly being the teacher, because I do have that skill. I have that ability. At this point, it's scary to ever admit that's a possibility, but I'm not going to completely rule it out.
Oh. That's good to know, huh? Kind of keep my eyes out in the bookstores, because I might actually see your face on a book someday.
Maybe.
So what would you say, Jessica, is your greatest strength?
I think being able to filter through people's chaos, in a sense, ideas, and package it into achievable tasks. One of the things that I have a kind of a video series, and I've only done a few of them so far, but I have this series called Chaos to Course. So basically what I do is I take people's mind maps and I transfer it into an online course, and I create an outline for an online course. So all they do is look at it and go, oh, these are the modules. This is what I have to teach on. I can do that. And so whenever they see that, the idea is that they're going to be able to video it and publish it pretty quickly, because I've done all of the narrowing down of the pieces. So I think that whenever people have ideas, I kind of joke and I say I'm the Terminator of curriculum, because as you're talking, I'm organizing the information into manageable pieces. Yeah. So I kind of joke about that. Like, my mind can't stop. It just does it automatically.
So the flip side of that, obviously you probably know where I'm going with this. What is your greatest weakness then?
A lot of the business side of being an entrepreneur. I sometimes the reason why I want to quit is because of the business side. Having to convince people that I know what I'm talking about, that the information I will give them will help them. I kind of feel sometimes like this whole online platform is difficult because I believe that I'm charismatic enough to speak to people and show them what I do. That once you sit down with me and see the process that we go through, you're going to be like, oh yes, I do need that. But the whole, all the details and the business side are really overwhelming, sometimes to the point where I'm like, and that's where I have to outsource. I have to say, you know what, I can't do it. I need someone to help me. I need a sales coach. I need someone to do the technical pieces and walk me through the accounting and just those details that can be insanely overwhelming for someone who's a literature major and not a business major.
Yeah, and there's wisdom in recognizing that too. So I'm glad to hear that you do recognize that within your own world, that that's something that you have to take advantage of other people, and use their gifts in those areas. When you're getting your ideas though, for course creation or what have you, is there a special place that you go to get your ideas? Some people is maybe just taking a walk in nature, or some particular special spot that they go to get ideas. Where's that for you?
Away from my daughters. I guess as a mom, you're like, I don't really have a whole lot of time to think. Yeah, I live in San Diego, so normally I'll go sit at a coffee shop that has a lot of people that are just coming and socializing with each other. Sometimes I go for a walk on the beach, the boardwalk, just to get away from everything. But really, It's wherever I have quiet time. The beauty of me doing what I do is it really doesn't take me that long. So once I get in the mode, I can whip out, a bunch of content within a very short time period. But it probably in my office is my most efficient place.
So if you're to describe for people, maybe there's somebody out there that's listening to the program today that would want to, they themselves become a course creator, and you're describing what you do in your business at a very high level, how would you describe that?
I know this sounds simple, but can you ask that again?
Describing at a very high level the process behind what you do in your business for someone who's wanting to follow in your footsteps.
Follow my footsteps. You know what? I'm going to say that it is, I have not gotten to that level to teach someone what I do. I actually tried, and it's almost like actually writing courses. So if I'm going to teach someone how to be a curriculum developer, it's almost too much for me to be able to manage, to teach them how to do what I do. But in a simple form, I would say always start out with where the client or you want to go. Where do you want to go, and what do you want to do with the information? Break it down to small, achievable pieces and fill in the gaps. So all of those, I guess that's the very simple formula, is where do you want to go? What are the steps to get there? And fill in the information.
That's fair enough, because that gives people kind of an idea of what they would have to do in your shoes, so to speak. So and if you can tell us, this is kind of a trivia question here for you, Jessica. Tell us something about you that most people don't know.
That's a good one. What do most? I'm like a I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm pretty straightforward. So what is something people don't know about me? I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. Let's see. I'm at a blank. I like I said, I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve. I tell people almost everything that I'm thinking. I am who I am. That's pretty much it. I don't try to be mysterious, and sometimes that's to my detriment because I tell people exactly what I'm thinking and how I'm thinking it. And sometimes people are uncomfortable with that. So I have to work on the balance.
Yeah, I can very much relate with that, because that's how I operate also. Is I don't beat around the bush. I don't hold back. I don't pull punches. I'm very transparent that way. So
yeah.
And so for the favorite question, since you are a former Marine, and we'll wrap up our time today with the wonderful Marine question. If you were to be a new color of crayon, what color would that be, and how would you describe that color?
A new color. So I have to make up a new color.
Yeah.
The crayon question. Well, I always, if I don't know exactly what it would be, the actual color, but if I could describe it in a way, it would be the color of nature. Okay. I think that if you can combine the colors of green and blue and yellow without it becoming brown, an ugly brown, and just having that highlighted color, I would love that color, because I love anything that has to do with nature and green and just the growth that represents that. If I'm going to be all philosophical instead of marine.
Yeah, so you're not going to go into the flavor of the color then, I take it.
The flavor of the color. I don't know. I've never tried the color. Well, I guess I did whenever I was little. It's all wax.
Okay, Jessica. Well, it's been a great, entertaining session to have you on today, and certainly enlightening to hearing a little bit about what you do and what drives what you're doing and how you're helping people. And so, obviously, people are going to need to be able to reach out to you and take advantage of your gifts. How would they get a hold of you to do that?
Well, my website is jessicalmoody.com. And I have a Facebook group that is called the Online Course Designers. I would love for you to join me there. I do education every week, and I have all my resources and extra ways to get a hold of me there. And I just love to be able to help people create their platform to really connect to their audience.
Oh, great. Well, you heard that, people. So, check out Jessica Moody and take advantage of her skills, because that is something that is going to take you to the next level, is using her skills and giving yourself the chance to be able to benefit from that. So reach out to jessicalmoody.com, I think it was you said there. And until next time, we thank you for being on the program today, and you have a good one. See you around the bend.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Legacy Cast. Thank you for joining us today, and be sure to come back next time as we speak with more top influencers, industry experts, and business owners from around the world.